if you want people to lose all faith that anyone is going to solve anything, you had a bunch of, if you're going to you had a bunch of other wacky shit that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it out in the woods. You do a bunch of shit.
It's a moment etched into America's memory. Joe Rogan, mid-podcast, leans forward with his head in his hands, his mouth twisted in raw disbelief, as his producer whispers the unthinkable. Charlie Kirk is gone. Shot on stage at Utah Valley University. Across from him, Charlie Sheen stumbles for words, caught somewhere between hollow Hollywood chatter and a flash of genuine shock. But it's Rogan's silence that detonates the room. The noise collapses, leaving only the heavy thrum of blood in his ears. 1 second, he's laughing about elk hunting and cancel culture. The next, he's locked in a cold sweat, staring into nothing as the news sinks its teeth in. There's something about watching one of the world's most unshakable men rendered wordless that makes the truth undeniable. This isn't a headline. This is an earthquake.
Yelling, I shot him, now shoot me. I shot him, now shoot me. And then that guy gets arrested for child charges. Like, he's like, what is going on here? And then you find this rifle, and then you say, oh, he assembled it and he reassembled it. Like, okay. I wish I was a cop. I'd sit in a room like...
You can see Rogan wrestling with the news, turning it over in his hands like something too heavy to lift. Kirk, the guy he once shot targets with at a gun range, decent, sharp, never an enemy no matter your politics, erased in the blink of a trigger pull, a bullet flying the distance of 2 football fields. Sheen, wide-eyed, mumbles about ideology and hatred, but Rogan's locked in on one question. Did they catch the shooter? Who pulled this off, and how? Broad daylight, in front of thousands, with security everywhere, and still it happened. The silence after that question carries a weight everyone in the manosphere feels, but won't dare speak. If they can drop Kirk, they can drop anyone. The ground shifts, the rules dissolve. Suddenly it's open season. Rewind the tape. The scene unfolds in real time. Kirk, just 31, stepping onto the outdoor stage to launch his American comeback tour. A single shot rips through the late summer air. Kirk crumples. Blood on the stage. Chaos detonates. Students scatter, screaming, vaulting fences, losing shoes in the dirt while campus police spin in circles, trying to trace the unseen sniper. Nobody spots him. All anyone remembers is the thunder overhead. Choppers, drones, the whole alphabet soup of federal agencies scrambling on comms. By nightfall, the FBI releases a photo. A tall, dark silhouette in black sunglasses, dissolving into the stampede. Just another shadow, caught at the edge of the frame.
People are getting fired for comments that seem to celebrate or glorify the assassination of the MAGA activist and father of 2 young children.
2 days later, a rundown apartment 200 miles away becomes the center of a raid. Tyler Robinson, 22, is dragged out in cuffs. Prosecutors beam for the cameras. Open and shut case. Their version is neat. Robinson, an electrical apprentice with 0 record, no training, no military background, supposedly built a rifle, smuggled it onto campus, scaled a rooftop, took the shot, then slipped away unseen in the chaos. It's airtight until podcasters and true crime diehards start picking at the seams. That's when the official story begins to wobble. Back on his show, Rogan's disbelief hardens into anger. He shakes his head. Horseshit. The words drop like an indictment. A rookie sneaks a rifle into a secured zone, nails a target, breaks the gun down, hides it in a backpack, and just strolls out? Give me a break. His voice cuts sharp, unbothered who he offends. This isn't a video game. You think this kid just parkoured his way up a campus building in broad daylight while thousands watched? Nobody noticed? Shut the f. And Rogan's not just ranting. He's pointing to cracks everyone sees, but nobody wants to name. Why weren't the roofs covered when security was supposedly amped after the Minnesota scare? Why does the timeline suggest Robinson would have needed to teleport across campus to make it work? And in an age where every second is live-streamed, how come there isn't a single clean clip of him doing it? The state calls it solved. The internet calls it a setup. Somewhere in between, the truth is bleeding.
You're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof. He jumps down
2 days later, a run-down apartment 200 miles away becomes the center of a raid. Tyler Robinson, 22, is dragged out in cuffs. Prosecutors beam for the cameras. Open and shut case. Their version is neat. Robinson, an electrical apprentice with zero record, no training, no military background, supposedly built a rifle, smuggled it onto campus, scaled a rooftop, took the shot, then slipped away unseen in the chaos. It's airtight until podcasters and true crime diehards start picking at the seams. That's when the official story begins to wobble. Back on his show, Rogan's disbelief hardens into anger. He shakes his head. Horseshit. The words drop like an indictment. A rookie sneaks a rifle into a secured zone, nails a target, breaks the gun down, hides it in a backpack, and just strolls out? Give me a break. His voice cuts sharp, unbothered who he offends. This isn't a video game. You think this kid just parkoured his way up a campus building in broad daylight while thousands watched? Nobody noticed? Shut the fuck up. Rogan isn't just ranting. He's pointing at cracks everyone sees, but nobody names. Why weren't rooftops secured? Its security was supposedly heightened after the Minnesota scare. Why does the timeline make it look like Robinson would have had to teleport across the quad to escape? And why, on a campus crawling with phones, drones, and live streams, is there still no clear footage of him doing it? That's the wedge that opens the next layer. Enter Candace Owens, never the accelerant you want on a conspiracy fire, but always the one you'll get. She's everywhere now, topping the podcast charts, pouring gasoline on every contradiction the authorities would rather bury. Episodes like Who Ordered the Hit on Charlie Kirk and Charlie Kirk Suspect Charged explode overnight. Something isn't right, she insists. Owens doesn't just hint at a larger plot, she says it outright. The FBI is leaning on Utah officials to pin the murder on Robinson. Just to wrap it up, she even claims she spoke to an eyewitness, a student who swears the shooter wasn't in jeans and a t-shirt at all, but in full tactical gear, carrying a weapon that doesn't even match the ballistics of Robinson's hunting rifle. 2 days later, a rundown apartment 200 miles away becomes the center of a raid. Tyler Robinson, 22, is dragged out in cuffs. Prosecutors beam for the cameras. Open and shut case. Their version is neat. Robinson, an electrical apprentice with zero record, no training, no military background, supposedly built a rifle, smuggled it onto campus, scaled a rooftop, took the shot, then slipped away unseen in the chaos. It's airtight until podcasters and true crime diehards start picking at the seams. That's when the official story begins to wobble. Back on his show, Rogan's disbelief hardens into anger. He shakes his head. Horseshit. The words drop like an indictment. A rookie sneaks a rifle into a secured zone, nails a target, breaks the gun down, hides it in a backpack, and just strolls out? Give me a break. His voice cuts sharp, unbothered who he offends. This isn't a video game. You think this kid just parkoured his way up a campus building in broad daylight? Thousands watched? Nobody noticed? Shut the up! Rogan's not just ranting, he's pointing at cracks everyone sees, but nobody dares to name. Why weren't the rooftops secured when security was supposed to be airtight after the Minnesota scare? Why does the timeline make it look like Robinson would have had to teleport across the quad to escape? And why, in a campus blanketed with phones, drones, and live streams? Is there still not a single clean video of him doing it? Here's where it gets spicier. Scroll the comments for 5 minutes, and you'll see the same clip over and over. A shadowy figure in black gliding across a rooftop seconds before the shot. Grainy, almost Bigfoot level. Owens says the eyewitness who filmed it swears it wasn't Robinson. That student even flagged campus cops, described the suspect's clothes and weapon, and watched them shrug and move on. The clincher? Bullet fragments pulled from the stage are so mangled that forensics can't tie them to Robinson's rifle. Either he's some kind of magician with magic bullets, or someone else was up there, and the feds don't want to know. Owens claims the FBI is pressuring Utah officials to pin it on Robinson, just to keep things from spiraling. She rattles off anomalies like it's a speed round. A student who saw a second man tampering with CCTV minutes after the shot. Construction crews tearing up the crime scene less than a week later. A classic cover-up move, she says. And those text messages attributed to Robinson, they read so federally written, you'd think a DOJ intern drafted them, tossed in some Gen Z slang, and hoped nobody would notice. Even some of the hard cynics on the left admit it now. Something here doesn't smell right. Meanwhile, the pressure outside the studio is boiling over. Charlie Kirk's funeral is a spectacle. Media tearing itself apart with takes. Politicians clawing for airtime. The vice president guest hosting Kirk's podcast as tribute. Trump thundering for vengeance. The American comeback tour mutates into a traveling shrine. And through it all, Rogan and Owens keep drilling down, dropping the word psyop like a hammer with every new twist. Robinson isn't confessing. He isn't even speaking. Utah's governor admits it. Robinson won't cooperate. Not a word. Just silent, locked away behind bulletproof glass. But the silence only fuels the fire. Everyone keeps circling back to that grainy clip. The shadow figure on the rooftop, wrapped in black, rifle low, face swallowed in shadow. Students swear that's the shooter, and they swear it wasn't Robinson. The official story can't account for him, can't make him vanish. With every dodge, every unanswered question, the myth grows. Is Robinson just ink on a case file, a patsy set up while the real shooter slips away? Is there a network behind it? A handler pulling strings? A paymaster with motives no one dares to name? Or is this the birth of a new American myth, stitched together by podcasts, fed by outrage, carried on a nation's hunger for scandal? That rooftop silhouette lingers in the frame, faceless, maybe real, maybe not. And as the noise dies down, the questions remain, louder than gunfire, louder than any press conference. Digging deeper, the cracks in the official story widen by the hour. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox, face drawn from endless press briefings, finally admits it outright. Robinson isn't cooperating. Not a word. He sits in jail like stone, lawyers flanking him, offering no confession, no motive. His family and friends paint a different picture. This was a kid who once carried a 4.0 GPA, breezed through classes, sharp as a tack. Then, somewhere along the way, he slipped into the deep, dark internet. That's the phrase they keep repeating, like it's a place you could drop a pin on. Now the feds are scouring Discord servers, rifling through group chats, chasing anything that might connect Robinson's online shadow life to the rooftop shot. But every lead disintegrates as soon as it surfaces. Another rumor, another doctored screenshot, another breadcrumb buried in a blizzard of memes and half-truths. The deeper they dig, the murkier it gets. Then come the details from the scene. Details so neatly packaged they feel ripped from a script. Prosecutors say bullet casings recovered from the rooftop were scrawled with graffiti. "Hey, fascist, catch." Another etched with "Oh Bella Ciao," the old anti-fascist anthem Netflix turned into background music for every heist drama of the last 5 years. One casing even carried a taunt: "If you read this, you are part of the rainbow community. Low." Was this the calling card of an unhinged activist, or a piece of dark online theater designed to go viral? For some, it screams motive. For others, it reeks of evidence a little too on the nose. Are we really meant to believe a leftist assassin left breadcrumbs this obvious, knowing every camera, every pundit, every podcast would seize on them? Or was someone curating a story, stage managing a myth for cable news, Twitter, and every right-wing host with a ring light? Then there's the forensics, which, if you believe Candace Owens, is where the entire case caves in. Her sources claim the bullet fragments from Kirk's neck and the stage are so mangled that forensics can't tie them to Robinson's supposed rifle. That's not a loophole, it's the whole case collapsing. No match, no weapon, no smoking gun for the jury. Meanwhile, the video evidence is just as suspect. In 2025, when every sneeze on campus ends up online, the footage we need most is conveniently missing. The rooftop camera, the one that should have tracked the shooter step by step, skips at the crucial second. The university's seeds are scrambled, corrupted, lost to technical issues. Official explanations only thicken the suspicion. And then the whispers. A man seen minutes after the shot, scaling a maintenance ladder and tampering with the CCTV camera directly above Kirk's chair. Campus tech doing his job, or someone making sure the truth never sees daylight? The authorities can't or won't say. Everywhere you look, the evidence frays. Patterns emerge, not of clarity, but of distortion, turning the Kirk case into a hall of mirrors. Documents vanish, security footage goes missing, and then, almost on cue, construction crews roll into the crime scene less than a week after the shooting, digging, tearing up pavement, roping off areas that had been open just days earlier. Owens calls it a textbook cover-up, and for once, the official line that it's routine campus maintenance lands with all the weight of a bad excuse, the kind you reach for when you've got nothing stronger. Then come the text messages. Prosecutors say they're between Robinson and his roommate, but they read, as one podcaster quipped, so federally written, it's like a bureaucrat got hired to cosplay Gen Z. Force slang, stiff pacing. The kind of tone that feels more like a script than a screenshot. Are they genuine? Or just another piece of evidence, polished for public consumption, designed to fit the narrative neatly into place? Robinson's own backstory only muddies the water further. Governor Cox went on TV confirming that Robinson's partner is transitioning from male to female, a detail instantly devoured and twisted by pundits into every angle imaginable. Hate crime, mental health, radicalization. Within days, officials were already walking it back, cautioning that it might be irrelevant. Or worse, a distraction from a truth either simpler or far more tangled. His parents complicate the picture even more. By all accounts, they're dyed-in-the-wool conservatives, Trump donors, Sunday churchgoers, the sort of family who once might have cheered Kirk as a champion. So how does a sharp, seemingly ordinary young man from southern Utah morph, in a matter of months, into the country's most notorious suspect. Was it a real break? A genuine transformation? Or just the kind of tidy backstory prosecutors love? One that plays to headlines and jurors, easy to sell even if it isn't true. Rogan, ever the cynic, tells his audience, this story feels engineered, like it was manufactured in a lab somewhere. The patsy theory keeps resurfacing, not because it's proven, but because it neatly fills the void left by all the missing facts. Each week, new podcasts spring up, dissecting scraps of evidence, drawing timelines, slotting the case alongside JFK and Bobby Kennedy in the scaffolding of American conspiracy lore. They tick off the inconsistencies, the impossible timing for Robinson to scale a public building in broad daylight, the absence of any solid witness descriptions, the headlong rush to close the case before the political funerals even wrapped. What's left is less an investigation and more a psychological maze, not only for Robinson, but for the public at large. The prosecution leans on hazy digital footprints, fuzzy motives, the trope of a young man radicalized in the deep, dark internet. The defense fires back with questions. Who actually benefits from Kirk's removal? Why does evidence keep evaporating? And whose agenda is served by pushing a narrative full of holes? With gaps wide enough to drive a convoy through, the press runs on leaks. Social media multiplies the noise. And in the echo chamber, it becomes nearly impossible to tell which threads are real and which were planted to mislead, distract, or both. Some details refuse to fade. The rooftop photo, that shadowed silhouette never fully resolved, has become this decade's Zapruder film, pored over frame by frame, enhanced, debated, mythologized. The eyewitness who captured it still won't recant, insisting the shooter wasn't Robinson, not even close. Yet prosecutors cling to their script, even as forensic experts hedge, their language softening with every press update. The story itself drifts week to week, shifting in tone, never landing on solid ground. Meanwhile, the FBI's role remains buried in secrecy. What's clear is that Utah authorities were pushed to move fast, to slap a name on the case and close the loop before national outrage spiraled beyond control. But as any true crime obsessive knows, speed is the enemy of truth. And so we're left with fragments, rumors, and a story that refuses to settle. Robinson, guilty or not, sits in silence, unwilling to play the part written for him. Kirk's movement doesn't wither, it explodes. Every rally now a powder keg. Lawmakers scramble, pouring tens of millions into new security. And in the meantime, every podcaster, every Twitter thread chaser, hunts for the next viral theory. Rogan, grim as ever, leaves his listeners with a line that freezes the room. Maybe he's a psyop. Maybe, in other words, the real shooter, the phantom on the rooftop who ended Kirk's life, slipped away and is still out there, watching, waiting, ready to fire again. That's where we're forced to leave it. A nation spinning, a case cracked but never closed, and the most influential conservative voice of his generation silenced by a shadow. Was this the work of a mastermind still hiding in plain sight? Or are we just actors in someone else's script, chasing meaning in the blur? Tell us what you think in the comments. Do you buy the official line, or do you smell a cover-up? Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and remember, the greatest danger is often the thing you never see coming.